we wanted to recap coming off the back of our last seminar where we delivered loads of info and I guess the blueprint to our business model. And the way we do things is based around the pre-design method. So pre-designing the album for our couples using in-person sales. So for Daz and I, pre-corona lockdown, we would do it with the couple sitting with us. So we would pre-design the album and then get them to come in and sit with us in this process.
To massage it through and basically get them to a buying decision, but making sure that they're happy and comfortable with the whole process and get them to a point where we can get the best possible album for them.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, things have changed a little, so we've had to reinvent our business model and we've been doing it now on Zoom as well, so we know it is totally possible and nothing really changes. So all the info that we delivered to you in webinar 1 was really key on the education, so the steps that we go through with our couples right from the moment we meet them and right from the moment they come into contact with our brand, perhaps through our website or, you know, seeing us at a trade show. The way we are very open and honest that we are a print-based studio and that we don't just give digital files. That is key in our message to conveying the importance that we believe print is really the best thing we can give our couples. So, yeah, so if you haven't watched it, I know some of you have and some of you haven't, so you may need to fill in a few little gaps on that education.
Yeah. So if you have seen it, it's probably a good idea to go back and have a look at it again. And for people who haven't seen it, then I think it is really important that you go to that first seminar that we did to, you know, kind of understand the processes and the business plan that we have, which basically is about offering couples a certain amount of photos, but holding stuff back so we have a product to sell afterwards once they've seen the pictures, and that they can do something that they feel comfortable with. But it's all based on service and the fact that we can get them, give them enough service so that they're able to have the proper album that they deserve for, you know, the wedding that they've just had. And basically, you know, our mantra in a sense is that our photos deserve to be in fine art wedding albums, and the couple's wedding our photos deserve to, how do we say it? You know.
Our photos, you know, deserve better than being on a USB stick in the bottom of your drawer. And hence we, you know, say that there's nothing more rewarding from being a photographer than actually getting that beautiful feedback of seeing your image come to life and, you know, being on this beautiful fine art stock and in a lay flat book. And I guess the thing that's key, just quickly to bring you up to speed if you haven't seen that first seminar, is that we introduce the albums in our packages from the get-go. So by doing that, we expose the couple very early on that for us, an album isn't an afterthought. It's not something that we dangle a carrot laterwards and go, oh, you know, by the way, oh, we offer these, but, you know, we've never shown you before, but we'll pull it out of the bag now. We work in total reverse. So we're, you know, really transparent from the onset that we show them the album as soon as they come in. You know, we have them open and on the tables. They get to touch them, feel them. And we're genuinely excited because we're passionate about it. We believe in it.
Yeah, the images in the album is the final destination, not a USB stick. So that's the idea behind it, that the album is the best possible product to give to the client. And so by having it in the coverage and not as an add-on, we're actually saying that that's the way we want you to go.
Yeah, and with that, as Daz mentioned before, so our packages will have a starting number of sides. So our middle package, which is probably our most popular, is an 8-hour coverage. It comes with the two of us and it has the addition of a 10 by 10 inch Memento fine art album, and it includes the first 24 sides. So we're very transparent with our couples that throughout the journey with us, they will want to put more sides in the album, and all the step points and touch points in the seminar 1 will explain that where we're at now. So basically we're assuming at this point we've shot the wedding, we've had a great relationship with them up until this point, they've been exposed to our printed product, we've shot a before forever session with them, which is our version of an engagement shoot. We don't give them any files from that. So again, we include the experience in all of our coverages, but we don't give them files free of charge. And we do that because we want them to come in and have a look at the photos. One, you know, to get the feedback of how we've worked and get that feeling of what they actually look like in the photos and to see what we've delivered in a short space of time. But we leave it open so that if they do love something, the opportunity is there for them to purchase them. They may want, you know, a box set of prints, or they may want one, you know, piece of artwork for the wall or a book. So rather than saying you have to buy something or you get these files, we just say, you know what, guys, we give you the experience. It's part of our service to you to make you feel comfortable with us for the wedding day.
And being comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah, and
like.
as a bonus, if they purchase something, then that's awesome because it's the first time they get to see themselves in the printed product. So now their trust levels and everything is rising. So when we get to the point of we've shot the wedding, they already know the quality of the finished product that they're going to sort of receive because they may have seen themselves in a print or a book or whatever. So
you're going to do a
yeah, so
first?
Today what we're going to do is launch into SmartSlides, and we're going to do a book design in that of an engagement session. And for us, we show about 40 to 60 shots. We show about 40 to 60.
Yeah, 60, 50 to 60 photos in an engagement session. The way we start off an engagement session is a little bit different to a wedding, where we use Pro Select for the couple to actually choose the photos that they like and sort of bring them down to maybe a manageable figure of say 40 or something like that for an album. So the first part of the sale is going through Pro Select, and you're probably all aware of Pro Select and how that process works. But basically, when they're in a point where they've sort of loved 40 or so photos, the most value for them is to put it into an album. And so we'll basically sell them an album, and then the design process after that will come through for them to approve.
Yeah, so at the point of the sale, if the client decides with us, we love them all, we want you to just come up with an album design. We won't do it there and then on the fly with them. They'll commit to that sale. They'll pay usually for it in full, or they'll pay 50% deposit. I will go away and do that design for them. And then I just give them a proof check of it. So that method is slightly different, obviously, to the way we work with a wedding. But we want to show you SmartAlbums, and we thought, let's hook into that. So we thought
we'd do an engagement shoot with SmartAlbums, and then with Fundy we'd do a wedding.
Sharing. So I'm just going to start screen sharing with you guys. And
we can see it.
Is it real small though?
No. Oh, I mean, everyone can adjust their screen accordingly.
Oh, that's not it. I think I need to go here. Why is it so small? It's not letting me.
Hales, on the right of the screen of the interface for SmartAlbums. Oh, hold on. Tech support has a suggestion.
It's because it thinks that's an application. When you go, like when you actually start making your book, you'll have to share to the big window.
Okay, it'll do it. All right. We'll assume
do it manually, but
the brain's trust is onto it. Good on you, Jeff.
I know. Thank God we have tech support. And,
yeah. All right, guys. So when you open,
Jinx.
There's a few people commenting they're getting the view perfectly on their screen. So thanks.
Okay. So excuse all our messy desktop-y stuff there. But okay, so this is the interface. When you open SmartAlbums, this is what you'll see. We're going to click new because we want to go into a new album. And of course, we're going to work with the beautiful Memento Pro because they're the best ones out there. So we're going to pick Memento Pro.
This is why I get to do these things.
You've got all the other choices, but your mouse will only ever go here. pre-programmed.
Tech support here is suggesting now you have to reshare
to the other window.
To the other window.
Because we're still on your first screen.
Yes, so we're still on the initial screen where it says New Open and Tutorials.
So stop share and then start share.
Yeah, that's it. I'd just like to explain to everyone that Zoom is fantastic, but it is a tad clunky when you're trying to move between different screens.
Okay, so what you're saying is each time she goes to a new window, she needs to reshare that new window. Is that
exactly, and that's why it gets a bit clunky.
Okay.
All right, okay.
So please bear with us.
Can you guys see this interface
Yes,
now?
we can see it.
Okay.
Choose that album.
We're going to choose a vertical portrait size album for this purpose. So I'm going to do an 8x11 inch because that's a nice size for that. I'm going to choose a flush mount and I'm going to choose thin pages. So I'm going to go next. And then I need to go new share. Gee, it's a bit slow, sorry guys. So I'm here in the next view and I've got the choice of choosing all templates, templates without square, templates 3:2 ratio. So I'm going to just choose all templates. I suggest you do that because it gives you more choice and you can, you know, slowly weed out which ones you don't want and star the ones you like and stuff like that. We don't want borders, they're a bit taqua, so we'll leave that off. And I like a thin gap, so we'll leave 5 points for now. The background color is white, so that's all good. So now we'll press start, and this is where you name your project. So for example, the person whose book we're going to do today is Sam and Isabella, and I might just put BF book there. And I'd probably save it in their folder. So if they had a folder on my desktop, I would put it within their folder, Sam and Isabella, so everything's contained in the one space. So I'm going to save that.
So you probably have to reshare now.
I'll go new share. All right. So we're in a blank interface now. Is that what you guys see there? There's no photos in here at the moment. I've just got a screen up the top and an empty field at the bottom. I'm going to now import some images into SmartAlbums. So we go down to the import images, simply navigate to where they live, and I'm going to just navigate to my hard drive. There's Sam and Isabella. I'm going to go to their slideshow and I'm just going to import that. So it'll just take a second. There's 100 odd photos in there. Obviously this is not the sifted suite, so I'm just going to chuck it all in. And then we'll go through and refine the process of how we design. All right. So they're in there.
Excuse me, Hale. Sorry to interrupt your flow. Just for one moment, there's a few people who are commenting that they're not able to see the screen clearly, or they have a small view of your presentation. I just want to confirm that the view that you're seeing out there is actually based on how you've set up your screen. So there's some controls there. I'm not sure if you're on an iPad or on a desktop, but what you will notice, or what I'm experiencing on my desktop, is with the presentation screen where we're seeing SmartAlbums, on the right-hand side of that, before you see the video views, there are two vertical white stripes. You can drag on those to the left or the right, and you'll be able to change the enlarge and shrink either the video or the presentation. So if anybody's having any issues with that you can go in and have a play with those. And here's has said you can adjust on the view options mid-top. Oh, good. It's all good now. Sorry to interrupt.
Cool. So I'm actually full screen. So I'm working in full screen for you guys. So it should be
in full screen
for you. All right. So we've imported the photos in. This is Sam and Isabella's shoot. There's a whole heap of stuff in here. So what you'll see, if you can just kind of squeeze down to these thumbnails, is basically you'll notice different scenes. You'll see some black and whites. You'll see them in front of a roller door. The lighting changes. So they're kind of grouped. I just sort by time taken. You can obviously sort by file name or whatever you prefer. I always choose to design in time taken, because when Darren and I are both shooting together, we have our cameras synced so that the images flow chronologically. And especially if you've got a second shooter, not so much for an engagement shoot, but obviously wedding, it's quite pertinent to, I think, sort by time.
And have your camera synced.
And have your camera synced. So I'm just going to quickly demo how this works. So I'm going to grab the first 5 images and I'm going to chuck them in. So this middle pane in SmartAlbums is kind of like forming the thumbnails of the pages, if you like. So whenever you drag and drop, you'll see that a break happens down here, and that delineates a new complete spread. And you'll see then that the spread is picking up here. So when I first design, I just chuck them on. I'm not interested at what it looks like at this point. I'm just getting the contact in the content in the book, and then I'm going to go back and delete and refine and, you know, see where I've got double ups. I'm going to take out the images I don't like, and I'm going to really tighten it up. But at this point, I just want to get the contact in there.
But you can see that the basic structure of her choosing the groups of photos is based around the lighting or the background, or whether it's a color or a black and white photo. Because what we're trying to do is give the couple a lot of variety, and that you turn the page to something new and something different, which is really important, because, you know, couples don't want to spend money on something that they've already seen kind of before in the album. So what's important is that it's all structured through, so, you know, this one's with the graffiti, this one's with the dark lighting. And if you were to match the dark lighting with the graffiti, it would look awkward and not quite the right presentation or the right design. So initially, although she's throwing the photos on there, she's looking at all those different backgrounds, the different colors, you know, maybe expressions and things like that, to give a little bit of variety.
You'll notice too, when I pick images, I will never pick a black and white and a colour on the same page. It is my one pet hate that I do not mix, and I stand by that rule, and I'll tell you why in a sec. When you see it designed out, you'll understand why I believe that.
And hey, Hales, while you're throwing some more images on there, Darren, what you were commenting on before, like you need, well, you've both been commenting on it, like you need a bit of variety, a bit of a rhythm. It's like, I think of it like a movie on paper. An album is like a paper movie, and just like in a movie, you have establishing shots, and then you have, you know, you come to a bit of a climax and then, or conflict, and then it comes out again. It's like creating dark and light in the story. And that's what you're doing with images here.
Well, you know, like how every movie starts off with a storyboard, basically with pictures, we're creating the storyboard. Yeah.
All right. So here's all my spreads. I've designed them out. And if I click into this first one, I can simply navigate through this little arrow key here, and it's going to give me lots of different combinations just really quickly off the bat. So I can go, you know what, I just want a full page spread here. To double click, when you double click into an image, this is where you'll see the page spread, the slit down the middle, or the gusset, if you like. The little viewfinder on the right-hand side of the screen, I can scale into the image and simply use my mouse to hover and place that image where I want.
We don't want the eyes to be in the gusset.
Yeah.
Even though with the beauty of the Leifer Memento Pro albums is that you can print over the gusset. And that's a really great feature, because not only does it allow for the one single photo to look fabulous as the spread is open, because there's no center gap, it means the flow of the designs can go from left to right without a page break, and you're not sort of just doing lefts and rights. You can do a nice design that flows.
We like to call it seamless or flawless, seamless stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Seamless
so one thing, you know, to be mindful, obviously you're not going to have that slit going through her face. So you would always put the center of the book down a center, or, you know, move it off center, so that
you could
it's
even
not
do that full page.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of an image like this full page to start with is obviously to set the scene of who the couple are, you know, that they're intimately connected, you know, something beautiful for them to go, oh wow, sort of straight off. And then going into the storyline of the shoot that we did for them.
So here I might go, oh, you know what, I've got too many images on the page. I might get rid of this one, and I might just keep it quite clean and simple. Don't like her expression there, so I might get rid of that. And we might leave that one as the centre one. I might get rid of her as well because I don't think that's needed. And we might give one of them more emphasis. So we might, let's have a look what it throws at us.
I mean, that's pretty beautiful that you can create all of those or see all those different layouts at the click.
Yeah, and you know, when I get to the next spread, I'm going to leave that one there, and then I'm going to get to this next spread and go, you know what, that can be on one double spread. So I quite like this image here. So I'm going to simply just drag and drop that guy back onto this spread. And I might kill this spread now because I think it's an overkill. So then I'll come back to this spread. I might pop that guy in as the hero and have those there, right?
So as you can see, the lines of the back wall work really well in that design where they're sort of shooting back that way. You've got all these sort of things happening in there.
You know, of course, you might want to zoom in and get rid of that line above their heads. And, you know, this is all the refinement that you can go in, you can place images, zoom out, you can angle them, turn them, swivel them if you've shot off center. You can fix all that at this point. So, you know.
The background there with the white of the brickwork's a bit annoying in that right-hand side. You know, she'd probably move that out so that, you know.
All right, so we'll move on. So, and then, you know, you're just simply going through, right? So I quite like that little design. That's a nice little sequence in a story. We might just quickly, you know, zoom in here. She's a bit off kilter. So I might just straighten them up.
And once again, that to me is like frames in a movie. It's a little vignette, a little story.
It's a little stories happening now. So, okay, we've come off something quite intimate. Let's say that's our opening spread for now. An opening spread should always be a scene setter. So we always like to, you know, if it's obviously a wedding album, it will be an image of the couple. With a before forever shoot, it could be a beautiful, you know, landscape shot or something of their hands or the ring, or, you know, you don't have to be as literal as having an image of the two of them, but that's what I've thrown in there now. But it's building the scene and setting a story. You know, here, a little more fun again. That layout's not bad, so we might just keep that one for now. It's getting a bit repetitive. So you can see here now, these two spreads for me are feeling quite same. So I would probably bring this shot of the guy back in here. We might swap that one over because it's playing off her being in focus and him being off focus. Yeah, we might bring that one in there.
And we
might, yep.
While you're doing that, because you mentioned that you feel it's a little bit repetitive now, I've just got a few questions about numbers of images. So first of all, you know, how many images would you start with? And narrow them down before SmartAlbums? And then do you have an average of a number of images per page?
Yeah, so basically with a engagement book, when we sell an engagement book, we sell it with a maximum of about 45 images. So I think I brought in 100 images here, and I did that deliberately to show you, you know, if you've got more, this is how you refine it down. So you can see we're at a point now, for me, it's looking same. These two spreads, it's getting a bit repetitive. I like this side, so we'll go with...
She wouldn't be so happy with that shot.
Yeah, you know, that's not a great expression of her. She looks a bit kind of you know, funny. So we'll delete that one off now. But for an engagement, yeah, we only bring about 45 images in. And I always say to the couple, look, as I'm designing, if I feel that it's getting repetitive, I'll just cut a couple out because I don't want your book to look to, you know, similar. I want it to have ebbs and flows. So you'll notice, you know, I've got a black and white. I'm switching to a color spread here. Got a fun little black and white film strip happening. We've got this kind of funness again, but we've flicked back to colour. We're in a different scene. We've got a different background. This is the same background, but I feel this image now is quite soft and a little more intimate. So that's a nice breathing space in the middle of our design
and
now.
it's quite contrasting from the previous one. You've got to remember also, this is the beginning of the shoot where they're a little bit anxious and not sure what's going on. But then we were able to get them into more concentrating on each other rather than being photographed. And that's when a little moment like that can happen. And shooting it in this way, even though it's coming off the same scene, it looks totally different.
Yeah, and because it's black and white, sometimes it lends itself to being a beautiful soft breather in an album. So that's why I would only do this as a single image. And to answer that question of how many images per spread, certainly with an engagement book, I would probably never put more than 4 images per spread unless it was a fun, quirky sequence where there was, say, 12 images and it was all about expression or nuances that lent itself to being displayed in that way. Otherwise, you know, minimal so it can breathe and the images come to life. Look, this spread here, kind of seen all this funness, so I think I'm just going to kill that one off the bat now because I've seen it. There's some nice stuff happening here. Let's see what we've got.
Well, the lighting's changed.
The lighting's changed. I think this is really lovely, so we might leave that guy. Don't like her face here. She's a bit scared, so we'll get rid of that. We'll see if we can bring this one back in with some of these.
Nice.
But actually, that's really lovely. And that's a cracker too, so maybe, where was that other one?
And Hales, you're not going to show us how great the combination of a colour and a black and white is on.
I will. Actually, let's do it now, Libby, because you've said that. All right. So say I really love this spread here, but you know, this is not bad too. So we might bring, so simply I can just drag that image straight across into this little space. You'll see a dot appears there, and that means just drop it and it'll land back on that spread. So if I want to make a new spread, I simply put it between the two. Why didn't it do that? It should have just put it in there.
Because you're doing a live demonstration.
Yes, of course. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
That's what software does too.
Guy out the window as well.
Don't worry. It does work properly. But
all right, so the reason I believe not to do colour and black and white on the same spread is I feel here they fight with each other. I don't know, my eye wants to look at the cleanliness of the black and white, but the colour is dragging me back across. So for me personally, I will always prefer to just see one image or a sequence of, you know, black and whites only or colour only than seeing 2 images. And maybe, you know, we could put these 2 together if we wanted.
And hey, would you?
So what happens? The reason why this scene, the 2 black and whites don't work is because one's a very soft, intimate photo and the other one's, the expression is contrasting with her big smile. So that's once again where it doesn't quite work because they're fighting each other, the 2 different sort of nuances of that. That's why it needs to be on 2 different pages.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you could maybe push it and get away with that. But yeah, what Daz is saying is that the emotional content of this page, you've got a soft, delicate, soft, intimate moment. And then we've got a big gregarious kind of laugh. So when you're designing, it's important that you keep, I think, moods and feels and emotion together because it fights with each other.
Well, just as much
on
as the
a
colour
spread.
and the black and white.
The same way, the colour and black and white. Look, that's really nice, but I think, we'll can that one. We'll can it. Nice light play here. That's not bad. We might leave that. And we're back to a bit of funness here, so we'll see what it throws at us. That's not bad. We could do a 4 spread here if we want to zoom in. We're just working through now. One thing I'll always do too, you can see there's 4 images here and this one's quite small. So it's kind of drawing our attention in the design to this particular right-hand corner. And for me, I don't feel that's quite a good design unless this was going to be an emphasis shot. So this could be a different size. And what I mean by different size, you see how their heads are quite low and yet the others are quite big. So, you know, you may want to just proportionately bring that guy up.
There's a bit
Sadly,
of
we
symmetry there.
Yeah, we lose some of that nice information, but this is where you may choose to, you know, put that as the hero. And the hero obviously is the one that's the bigger one on the page. So, you know, they work as little thumbnails down there. So we'll move on.
And I'm correct, Hales, in thinking that you shot all of this in 20 minutes. Is that right?
About 40 minutes, our sessions, yeah.
So you have to find an area that's got a bit of diversity or texture.
Yeah, that's an important key. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, our style is based on moving around.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, posing that's very sort of, we let the couple just do what they like and we just move them around in different areas and, you know, get them to concentrate on each other.
So say here in this spread, I'm not feeling the love from what, you know, SmartAlbums is throwing at me. I can simply click into an image. We'll say it's this one. And I can drag that perimeter and it can give me that design field all the way to the end. So if I wanted to then, you know, have a nice full spread on one side and center that the other side, I can simply do that by just drilling in and changing that box to whatever I want. And I just, if I like this particular template and I go, oh, I've spent so long lining all this up and, you know, this is really cool, I can reuse this template again. You simply save as a template and that will put it in your favorites for when you can come back to it. So SmartAlbums, it's quite intuitive. It's very fast. I mean, you've seen that I'm just literally drilling through these combinations, whizzing through, you know, getting rid of too many images, bad expressions. Obviously, you would have probably curated it a bit tighter at this point, so all those wouldn't be in here. This is really nice now to have this one, and I quite like this as a little breather. A lot of girls love their ring and the fact that, you know, their partner may have designed it for them or they designed it together. So, you know, sometimes a nice little breathing shot with the engagement ring, something just delicate. It doesn't have to be a product shoot, you know. It's nice to have the ring with them sort of out of focus in the background. So we'll leave that one there.
Hey, I like to think of those pages too as like a bit of visual punctuation, or it's like you get a moment just to reflect. It's like when things quieten down in a movie.
Exactly. Yeah, just a breathing point and a pause. You know, we're coming off busy colour, bit of a pause here with the black and white, bit more busyness. You know, this background's got a lot going on, graffiti. So this is, as Libby said, a really nice visual pause and just a reflective point. You know, then we get to a bit more fun. Meh, I think we'll kill that. Not feeling it. This is sweet, so we'll have a little play here. Maybe we'll kill that one and just keep this quite simple.
So basically the walking pose was changed because we got them to hold their hands a little bit differently than what you'd normally do. And
that might be a nice little end up. So we could simply, I'm just going to pull that across because I don't want his face cut here. I don't want his decapitation happening. So I'll always put the slit right down the center there so it doesn't chop their noses. So, okay. So as you can see, that's the book. We've pretty much designed 15 spreads there. So there's 30 pages in that book. You'll notice on this side, we get a little thumbnail view. So if I go, oh, you know, I want this graffiti one to actually come into that spot, I can just quickly drag it on this thumbnail point and it will move it. So now that spread's come into this space. So when you're working with a client on Zoom, for example, that's one way to give them an overview of the album, and also so that they can see what comes before and what comes after. All right, and then so if we're happy with that and we like the design and we think, yeah, that's okay. Obviously, if this was a real design, I'd make sure everything lines up, and any retouching that needs to be done, we could do that in Photoshop and bring the image back in.
I still don't think those two should be together.
Dazza doesn't like these two, so he wants us to can one of those and
no, I wanted you to put that
go with the single page spread. Oh, he wants another image. So
that's a cool shot, though.
Okay, there we go. So what I did then, sorry, that was my fault before. You simply pick an image up and you drop it into the empty space, and see that dot? That will give us a new spread. Okay. So I can now, I've got a lot of black and whites happening now, so we might kind of mix it up. Obviously I wouldn't put this scene before the next scenes, but you get the gist anyway. So at that point, we would export the book, and I would say I want to export for print. Now, if you go into Memento, I'm going to share.
Yeah, you've got to stop
Memento.
share.
Yep. So I'm going to just stop share on that guy. Going to come back in. So this is the Memento.
This one yet.
Hale, we can't see your.
Yeah, I'm going to share it. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, we can, thanks.
Okay. So if you go to the Service tab and the Design Tools, is it, Libs?
Design Tools, yes.
Yes.
So this is going to explain.
So we click into Design Tools. We simply go to SmartAlbums, and this gives you the specs. So if you're not sure what, check boxes to check and how your PDF needs to actually line up with Memento settings, the lovely Jeff has done all the screenshots for you in here, and he's actually told you, all the things that need to be ticked, the color profiles, the quality, and blah, blah, blah.
The design covers.
The design covers and everything like
how
that.
you can upload the order.
So what happens at that point, you'll export your PDF, and it tells you in this page on the Memento Pro website how to then export that file, that PDF file, to Memento Pro to place your order.
Yeah. And if anybody has any specific questions about this, Jeff will be available at the end to answer some questions. I'm not your gal for that.
All right, so that's SmartSlides. People got questions. Look, I must say I'm actually not a guru on SmartSlides. I use it a bit, but I am more of a Fundy girl. So, but I haven't used it for months and months. So me just jumping back in there, it's so intuitive. It's really easy software to use. They do have, it's really fast. You can navigate out quickly. And if you get really good at, designing your own templates, for example, and doing that, save to favorites, you're building your own library in there. So at the beginning, you can choose to just show your favorite templates. And so when you're whizzing through the options, you weed out the ones you don't like, and it will just give you, the options that you like to design in.
Which gives you continuity of brand, right?
Yeah, so if you only like having, 2 images per page or maximum of 3 or 4, then there's no point showing templates which have got, say, 12. So you can get rid of those and just design quite concisely. So that's...
Share the screen again?
Yeah, so let's share.
Hales.
Yep.
There's a few questions that have come in. Some people have been asking about, I just want to clarify for everybody that you guys are going to talk through a bit more of the process of designing and proofing with the client shortly. So I won't get you to cover that just yet. Yeah.
And it's more designed, this one's just to show a vertical album, small amount of photos, like an engagement shoot, or you could use this as a portrait session, a family session or a baby shoot or something like that. to show how quick, you know, 40 or 50 images can be thrown into a design.
Mm-hmm. And the other question somebody had was how this compared to the Memento Pro software. Look, Memento Pro was designed, from my perspective, Memento Pro was designed to be used by all different types of people for all different purposes, regardless of your design skills. Whereas SmartAlbums and Fundy Designer have been specifically created for like wedding and portrait photographers who are regularly going to create albums, and it is far more powerful on that front. So if you're looking at setting up an efficient workflow, I totally recommend SmartAlbums and Fundy over Memento Pro.
Yeah, look, these are beasts, right? These machines are purely designed for handling high amounts of images and speed and efficiency. One really good tool with SmartAlbums, which I should mention, is that it has the ability to then allow you to provide thumbnail and proofs to your clients. So for people that don't want to do in-person sales, you know, this is our method. We do it with the couple sitting next to us. If you don't want to go down that path, you still want to design the album for them, but you want to, you know, send it off for them to proof it, it has the ability for you to cloud proof the album with them. So they can then put their comments, and they might, you know, click in and go, oh, hey, not keen on that photo there. I want that swapped and so forth. It is a back and forward process, which is why we don't do it that way. I find feedback and time changes add to a lot of wasted time for not only the photographer, but also the couple. Whereas if you sat with them for 2 hours, you would have done all that.
And 2 hours versus 2 months.
Yeah, I just find, you know, in our experience of doing that in the past, it would be like, oh, you know, oh, that photo on the left, you know, can you change it to that top right? And then you'll do it and they'll be like, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I wanted it like this. Now, she may have waited 2 weeks to get back to me to tell me that. So that 2-second design process just means your workflow's behind. But nevertheless, if that's the way you want to rock and roll, you know, knock yourself out, SmartAlbums does have that awesome cloud proofing ability. You pay a little bit extra, I think, in your subscription, but if you want to run your business model that way, it is an awesome tool and a really efficient way of doing that process.
I do
to do that process, I think you need to just be mindful to set parameters for the couples. You know, if you leave it open-ended that they can do umpteen changes,
yes,
you will open yourself up a can of worms that will be unmanageable and not time efficient for your business. So I think you need to be really clear on what's involved in that and really nut out that process before you open that door to your couples. That's just, you know, a business decision there. But
I think also, when you limit things to, okay, to 4 changes, you're always going to get clients who go, okay, I've done my 4 changes, but I just need some more changes. Oh, you know, and you have this sort of like a confrontation stage where you say you've set your parameters, but people are trying to open up that envelope because they want to get what they really want. So, you know, I find that's a bit sort of not the right way to do business.
I know people charge $15 a change after anything that's outside of what's included in that design time. And, you know, it's up to the client. They know that if they want to keep going with changes back and forward, then they know they're hit up with $15 or $20 or $50, whatever that cost is on the photographer. It chalks up.
It puts a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah, for us, again, the reason we don't do that is we like the customer experience being with us. We like that feeling that we can directly address their cares or concerns, or, you know, if they don't like something, we can get an option and we can offer them substitutes, and we can overcome any objectives, I guess, while they're sitting here. So,
objection.
Yeah. All right, so that's SmartAlbums. I think we'll leave SmartAlbums there now, and we'll dive into Fundy.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to minimise that one.
I don't think you're sharing the screen.
I'll stop sharing
No,
that for
not-
a second.
You're not sharing our screen. It's just
I'm not sharing anything. Okay, that's all right. I'll come back. All right, so then I'll share this. Can you see now? I'm in Fundy. Fundy.
Yes, we
So
can.
I've just opened up Fundy. This is this little icon here, orange guy. So when you come into Fundy Designer, you've got some options here. There's different modules that you want to start designing. So we want to design an album. We don't want to do a gallery. We don't want to do cards, and we don't want to do collages or anything. But there's so much information in here. You can do sales sessions. You can design PDFs and, you know, thank you cards. We're going to design an album today. So we click the album. We'll go in and we want Memento Pro. So we're going to go down. We're going to find Memento much the same way we did in SmartAlbums. We're going to click Memento. We're going to go next. And we want a flush mount album. So we're going to highlight that guy. We're going to go next. And I think because we did a vertical, we're going to do a square album now. So a 10 by 10 inch square, that's one of the most popular sizes that we sell. And we always choose thin pages because we end up doing a lot of sides in your albums. So click the 10 by 10 thin. We'll go next. We're not going to have a cover. And I think it is 514 mil, if I'm right, Jeff, by 260 at 300 DPI.
Jeff
Now, Jeff can... Yeah, is that right, Jeffy?
I'd have to look it up.
He'll have to put up.
I know it off by heart, so I'm pretty sure that's right.
Bless you.
If you're going to obviously design a 12-12 inch, then you would check the 12-12 and you would put Jeff's measurements in there, and you can get all these on the Memento Pro website too, I'm sure, or Jeff will provide them for you. We'll then just go next. So it'll recap for us. We're doing a basic album. It's with Memento Pro. We're going to be flush mount. It's 10-10 and this spread size is correct. I'm going to call this Sarah and Brent, and it'll be Memento Demo, just so I know. All right, so we're going to create that album now. I've already dragged about 300 thumbnails in here. 300 photos. So I've got a lot of images in here to work with. We'll start from the top. So I'm not going to design this out obviously to, you know, 300 images, but I'm just going to start picking. Now you'll see in this thumbnail view, again, my pet hate, so I'm not going to put color with black and white. I've dragged this one and I've highlighted these guys, and I'm going to simply drag and drop them in. At this point, I'm not thinking design or aesthetics. I'm just purely choosing images that sing to me or say something, and I'm just plonking them on, and I'll come back later and I'll refine. So I can now see we didn't shoot much, the boys. We weren't there long. So, you know, I'm not going to bother with any of the suits and crap because there's not much content there. So I'm just going to keep going.
The groom was sick from the night before, so he wanted to get out of the hotel room to get a bit of fresh air. So we just sort of shot around the Sydney Harbour.
We shot quickly. So I'm now, you know, at the bride's place. I'm just going to start plonking photos. There's a sweet little story here of her putting the dress on. So you can see what happens in this software is it just presents me a blank spread as I get to the next page. So it says, yep, I'm ready, just plonk me on there, and that's what I'm doing. All right, so she's now in the dress. We're getting some like pretty images of her. Yeah, I might like that. So if I want to just drag one onto this spread, you'll see that it gives me that line. I just simply drop it and it's on there. We might highlight these guys. So many of her, so probably too many, but I'll just plonk some on of the bridal party. She's a bit cute, so we'll put, you know, cute little kid, whack that in there.
But even though the bride's getting ready in the same location, you can see how each spread is actually a little bit different, whether it's the lighting or the angle of the room or what's happening. So once again, the couple will turn the page to something new and something different. So it's all about shooting the style, shooting for the album is really important, even when you're in just the one location of where they're getting ready or in a park or something like that. The idea is to find ways of making your shoot different and finding different moments and finding different things that are going to be important to them, you know, like the parents and bringing them in, or she had a daughter and things like that.
Yeah, there's some nice images here that are quite moody in the hallway. So I might whack those in.
So the hallway became a new location.
Yeah, so that was basically leaving. All right, so we've got quite a lot of spreads there just getting ready. I'm at this point, this is me as though I was designing for a client. I'm just keeping going. So I don't care how many pages I'm at. I don't care what it looks like at this point. I'm just grabbing the content that I've flagged and I'm just literally throwing it on there.
Because basically it's the starting point of creating a product that we can sort of offer to the couple once they come into the studio to see the final design that we've sort of come up with as a platform for them to work from and to, you know, kind of tweak and go through to get to what they feel comfortable with.
So we're now at the ceremony. There's a few nice spreads there. I'll whack that one on, black and white. Remember the lighting was really shitty this day, but you know, it is what it is. We have to work with the situation we've been given. We'll do a nice, that's a lovely one of her. So that probably is great for a double spread. So I might kill that one off the back because that's better. We've got an overall and a kiss. So we'll whack that in there.
So the basic structure is telling the story of the day. So that's why, yes, the photos are in sort of like chronological order. Once again, sort of that Hayley's used the timing aspect of the software and the cameras so that basically we're just telling the story right from the beginning, every sort of moment all the way through.
And look, a lot of these I'm going to delete. I'll go, you know, too much. I've got too many, you know, don't need all that content. I know this was a day where we had a lot of beautiful images. So, you know, I'll whack some family in there. And now I'm up to location. So again, I've seen this little scene. That's kind of all same. So I'll plonk those in. It's quite a nice one of them. Maybe the boys, because they're looking a bit Reservoir Dogs there. It's quite cute. You'll notice when I've used it, a little 1 appears as well. So that tells me that I've used it in the design. And it's a little visual marker to not use it again. All right. So just moving my way through. I don't even know how many spreads I'm at the moment. 62. Some lovely black and whites happening here. But that's also nice. So I might just go, I know I'm doubling up, but I'll chuck it in and then I'll work it out later. She's got really hot legs. So let's give her legs a bit of airtime. Some candids there. Oh, this is cool. We'll throw a bit of she loved the streamer idea. So I know she'll want that photo. We'll whack a bit of candid shenanigans and fun in there. Maybe one here and one of that.
Hayley, while you're doing that, Ben has asked, on the thumbnails you have star ratings and a heart. Do you ever use those tools? Or
look, you can. So what Fundy will do is if you've starred them in Lightroom, it will actually bring those, it should remember what rating you've given them and it will bring them across. I haven't actually done it in this design, so it's obviously picked them up from Lightroom or something where I've starred them before. It is a useful tool if you want to quickly delineate sections of the day or, you know, your favourites, that sort of thing. You can also filter them. So I'm not going to go into, you know, you guys can go online, as I said, and get to the crux of how to work with this sort of software.
We don't do it because it's just as easy to throw all the photos on there and get a kind of a visual of what you like in this whole overall spread. So it's kind of more in context as an album rather than in context context of a Lightroom catalogue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So at this stage, you know, I'm putting lighting, similar lighting together. We now go into something a little more moodier. So I'm just going to quickly finish this off. There's a nice cracker of the dress, a little more traditional, but, you know, shows her beautiful full dress. I might go can that later, but we'll put it on. It's nice. We'll pop that in. All right, so now we're at the reception. So I'm going to throw this little guy in because I think this is a really lovely lead in to we know we're moving somewhere else, and we'll talk through why these transition images. We call these transition images because we know we're moving from one scene to the next and we're heading back into now
the story's
the
now
reception.
changed. The story's now all about the reception. We've had the location shoot, and that transition photo gives us an opportunity to tell the viewer, okay, we're moving on to something else now. It also works as a great scene setting images because it's got the reception in the background.
You know, I'm going to throw all the people on here, but chances are I'll come back and I'll get rid of the bridal party and just go the hero shot of them. But we'll put it in. We'll show the process. They did the cake cut straight away, so we'll whack one in there. And for memory, they went straight into speeches. So we'll just grab a couple of those, whack it in. The night progresses. Little tender moments, laughs, giggles. Yeah. You know, sometimes we'll put one of all the speakers and we'll do a grid format. That's one of those pages, like the dancing, which I'll get to and I'll show you, where we may do more than, you know, 8 images on a spread, or we'll do 12 images on a spread, because things like speeches don't need to be huge. You can have, you know, especially if the couple want to see every person talking, you could whack them on this spread and do a nice little collage.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of speeches is that
layout.
people want to see who spoke and what the reactions are. And often when I'm talking about a page that's to do with the speeches, I'll say something along the lines of, you know, you can't hear what the people are saying because of the medium of photography, but you can get a feeling for what they're actually saying, what the mood of the speeches was all about. And that comes by the display or the presentation being of lots of sort of smaller images showing reaction shots and the people holding the mic. And that's that story of who spoke at my wedding, because in 50 years' time, they may not remember. So yeah, that's the idea behind that.
So here's an example with the dancing where we would throw, you know, multiple images onto one spread and lay it out in that grid, because you want the fun, you want the hype. They don't need to be, you know, single images. I think for memory, for her ending page, I may have had something like that. We took some lights outside. And
that's how it'll translate into the book. But basically, it's just telling the story of they had a great time at their wedding dancing.
Yeah.
And so, although they're similar photos, it's telling a different story of the impression we get is that we had fun at our wedding. Yeah. So the photos don't necessarily have to be huge, and they're kind of generic because they're different people, but it's the same, they're doing kind of the same thing. So that's why this presentation can work really well compared to, you know, maybe something like that, where the bride and groom took the cameras off us and wanted a photo of me and Hayley because they said that we've been photographing them for too long all day. So, yeah, that's a bit more of a point there.
All right, so this is the design. It's clunky, it's overdone, it's horrible, right? We've just literally thrown things on there, have not put any design thought or anything. But what we've got is a skeleton. We've got a skeleton that anchors from the start of the day. And we've pretty much put a snippet of their entire story. So in terms of you selling a product, as Daz said, you know, it's important that you don't just choose images that you like, but that you choose images you know they're going to want. So yes, it is often the boring family photos that we don't have an emotional connection to, but in 10 years, 20 years time, or in fact straight away, the images like that will have a lot of meaning and importance to the couple. So don't ever design for you. I think design with your couple in mind. It's really important that you are sensitive to the things that happen in their day. So if you know their nan was there and their nan, you know, may be quite ill or in a wheelchair and she's just come out for the day, you're going to want to put nan in there. You know, nan's a key important player. So having all this knowledge in mind, when you sit to do this design process, you'll draw on those things that you remember on the day to, I guess, bring your design to life. So we're at this point, you know, obviously I'd never start an album with the boys getting ready. I'll always start it with a beautiful image, maybe of the two of them. So we might start, yeah, let's choose that. That's kind of nice.
Hayley, while you're there, and we've had a question, see there's the kind of the yellow warning symbol that is appearing in some of the images. Is that where the resolution is to?
Exactly. So what it's telling me there is, if I hover over it, it says Fundy will upscale my image to 53% to match the physical print size. So I could have just pulled in a lower res JPEG here or whatever. Now I can let Fundy do its thing and just upscale it, or I could open this in Photoshop. So I can click in and, you know, open in Photoshop and enlarge that myself if I don't trust what Fundy might do. And this little tool, is that showing it to you in Photoshop? Yeah. So I could then simply go in, you know, do my shortcuts, and I can put it at, we always save our files at medium JPEG size. So that's why it's that size. But we can, you know, take it to whatever it needs to be. If it needs to be 20 inches.
Because we shoot medium.
Reduction. So I can go, okay. And then I can simply just, it'll say, yep, I want to save it. And what it will do is it will bring that back into Fundy for me. And it should, where am I? View. See how now that's disappeared?
Right.
So basically I've taken that up to a point now that resolution is not going to be an issue, and Fundy's gone, yep, great, I'm happy with that now.
Thank you. You
can leave it to do it itself, but just be mindful. You can set in your preferences how far you want to allow Fundy to do that for you. If you're a bit of a techo stickler, I suggest you keep it quite low so that you can control and know, you know, what outcome you're going to get. So let's show you how Fundy works, right? So I double click into the spread. At the moment, I've got all the guides and everything showing. If that's really annoying for you when you design, the little eye icon, you can get rid of it. Or if you like to have some simple guides to know where the center of your page is, then, you know, you can knock yourself out there. You can swap the spreads over by using that key tool there, or click into layouts and bingo, it gives me all these different options. So I might go, you know what, off the bat, I like this one. I just click into it. So unlike SmartSlides where I had to click in and I got that thumbnail on the right-hand side, Fundy's a little bit more intuitive. You just click in. I can use the tools here. I can drag in straight away and move it around on the fly. I don't have to go to another view in the album viewer. I just work in the program. Now I know that slot's there. That's okay, it's cutting his ear, so I might want to, you know, bring him across there. And I can go back to view, and then it will give me the overall feel of the book. Now, why I like designing in Fundy is that I love to see these thumbnails big, because when I want to get rid of spreads and tighten the design, it's a way for me to really concisely, quickly see, oh, I've got too much of that. I don't have enough here. You know, that's repetitive. Don't need that. It's a really quick navigation tool to do that. So, you know, again, I can just zoom in. Right. Double click, I might go, that's boring, schmoring. I don't need that spread, so I'm just going to kill it. This one's really nice. Let's see what options. I think I want 4 on a page there, so I'll select that guy and I'll simply go, yeah, it's a sweet little story. She's, you know, bride being cheeky, love it. I'll leave that. Great pins, great shot. Yep, I think I like this as a big spread because it gives us that beautiful breathing point. Now, rather than, you know, doing all the traditional still life shots here, we didn't shoot this bride in that way. Often we'll shoot the things as they happen in real life. So this is her shoe shot. It's not a traditional, you know, let's line the shoes up on the floor or the bed. Sometimes we'll do that. Sometimes we won't. So I think this one looks really nice front and center there. I'll come in here. A bit over the silhouette. Seen it before. We might just go that. Great expression. It's lovely how, you know, this is playing off the light there. What do we got here? That's a bit same. Get rid of that. Meh. It's okay. It's not great.
Hales, while you're doing some of those maneuvers there, there's a question that's cropped up about the optimum size of images to import. You mentioned medium JPEG. What other file formats?
Yeah, sorry, we shoot medium raw, so we don't
shoot full raw.
Well, sometimes I do. It's weird. Sometimes I will shoot full raw. Sometimes I don't know how I got onto it. I think Dan was like, "What are you guys doing? Just shoot medium raw." And I was like, "Tell me more." And I don't know, after having a chat with Dan about it, and we were like having a beer or something, we went, "Yeah, you don't need full raw, and it chugs up your cameras and, you know, chews up your memory real quick at a wedding." And let's face it, you know, we're a print-based studio, and I got to say, shooting medium raw, I've never had any images with quality, even blowing them up to like something you can see. Does can grab that beautiful print. But, you know, if it's a destination wedding and we're in Santorini, or we know we're in a, you know, thing that's so unique and we might not get the chance to shoot ever again, you know, we may just crack out full raw because we just want every, you know, pixel of definition in there. But, you know, this wedding was shot on medium raw. The prints are beautiful, never had an issue. We printed what was the size lids we printed?
Oh,
you guys?
It was the 12-inch.
By 17 inches.
Jeff, help me out.
Vertical.
12-inch portrait, Hales.
Yeah.
No,
okay, so
it was 10 by 15 or thereabouts.
Oh, sorry, Jeff has corrected me. It's 10 by 15.
Okay, so that's a 20-inch double spread. So when you open that book out, it's 20 inches by 15 inches high. You know, it's a decent sized print and there's no issues there. So it's a personal thing. It's whatever you know, want to shoot with. There's no rules.
Because we shoot very quickly, we decided to go on medium raw because the buffer didn't clog up the camera.
Yeah.
And what camera do you use? Because we've got a few people asking, are you Canon, Nikon, Sony, or sorry, Nikon?
We're Canon.
Canon 5D.
Yeah, we're
Mark
Canon.
3, Mark 4.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you convert? There's also a question from Liz here asking, what do you convert to import?
JPEG. So once we have selected the images in Lightroom, so we'll bring up Lightroom in a sec, and we'll show you the process that we do there. Just gonna and we just export the chosen ones. Sorry, my mouse is jumping here. We export the chosen images out and we bring them in as JPEG files.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Fundy's just lagging a little bit.
At what size, Hayley?
Just full. I don't resize them from whatever I shot them at. So if I've shot them at full raw, just export them out at full size.
Thanks.
Okay. Look, guys, this shot here, you know, we've got the scene setters of the ceremony. This is a page where you might go, oh, you know, we don't need all these details of the wreath, and, you know, we might throw a couple of crowd pleasers in there just to set the scene. There's cute little Bubba there. So this page can go now, you know, we might get rid of that.
Basically, she'll go through and refine it.
I'll go through and refine. So I might set the scene of the day and go, oh, that's Acre, that's where it was. There's a cool guy with his dog. Yeah, maybe he might go, and I'll bring something else more pertinent to the couple in there. You know, it's got their Sarah and Brent. It's got all the beautiful details because, as we know, our couples spend all this money on, you know, flowers and styling and, you know, hoo-ha. So it's important that those bits go in there.
But it's all part of the story. So that's why it's made it to the album, because the basis of our business is telling the story of the day. So it's important that that shot goes in there so that they can have that memory of how they decorated that.
Yeah, so say here, I don't like this design, right? Say I want to make my own design. This is where Fundy's really cool as well. So I'm just simply picking up this file. I'm going to drop it. You'll notice there's a bounding box, a yellow bounding box now, and now I've got this. So I can just simply drag it full spread. I want 3 across on a page. I want it lined up, so I'll come to my line up tool and make it centered, and I'm good with that. So I'm going to keep that page and I'm going to go back to view, leave that black and white.
You're going to refine all of these?
Yeah, let's leave that one. That's cool. Keep the kiss, keep that. Group shot. Yeah, sometimes they want it in.
They always want it in.
Yeah,
it's the most popular photo that always gets printed
true.
in the album.
True. Look, something like congratulations, unless it's a really intimate wedding and, you know, maybe there's like special key players that the congratulations is like a big part of their day, as in, you know, they might mingle afterwards and they may not want to go on location straight away. So the mingling is part of their location, if you like. And that's where we may put, you know, some cash images like this. You know, she's showing off the ring.
I mean, we have no idea whether they want these pictures at this stage, but because it's part of the day, because they've decided they wanted to spend 15 or 20 minutes sort of, you know, doing pre-dinner drinks or cocktails or, you know, just sort of being with their guests for a little while before the location, it means that there must be some importance to it. So by putting it in there, at least we have the opportunity for them to say, yeah, I think I'll go with that. Yes, that's part of my story. Or no, we don't really need that.
Yeah.
And that's part of the refinement when you do the sale. But if it's all just about pretty pictures, it doesn't really tell the story. It's got to have the aspect of the day as you unfold the pages.
Sometimes what I'll do, and look, I don't do it often, but when you do it and it works, it can be quite fun and, you know, not tacky. You've got to be careful it doesn't look tacky. But what I did there is I flipped that image. So I went in and went, oh, this is kind of a cute little story, you know, them meeting in the middle. The groomsman's having a bit of a gag and the girls are having a bit of fun, you know. This bridesmaid's like, oh, fuck, you know, carrying the dress, doing my duty. So it's got a bit of quirk and a bit of fun about it. I might line up something visual, you know, it may be a beautiful horizon line, or just to give an example of that you can be creative and flip spreads and things like that.
But it just adds a design aspect to the design.
Yeah. So, you know, we're moving through. There's quite a lot of spreads here. Oh, hang on, I'm just lagging. I might kill that one and just keep that. Let's have a look here.
Oh, that's a cool page.
I think I like this one better because we can see the bridal party. So you know what? We don't need that. So we can just delete. So once I've selected that bounding box, I just press delete on the keyboard.
That's cool.
Quite like the negative space. So we'll leave that guy. Nah, don't think we need that. I'm going to kill it. Even though they're pretty images, I might just go with the color shot there. Because when it flows, this is really lovely, coming off a beautiful black and white into a color. We'll give her pins a bit of airtime. They might get dumped further down. We'll leave that because that's a cracker there. And we'll end with this nice fun shenanigans. Don't know if I need that one. So we might just let's just go a couple of squares there.
Yeah. So this is more about a feeling when they look back at that page, they'll remember how much fun they had and how much fun the photo shoot was.
So now, you know, the scene's changing. It's going to something a little more intimate and soft. So rather than just coming off the back of this craziness, I may bring this image in here because it's just such a delicate, beautiful, doesn't show much, but it does show a lot. So
what's really nice about that image is that on the texture of the paper, the beautiful black and whites and the tones come out so nicely.
And her hair, her beautiful hair.
The texture of her hair comes through on the paper, which is really, really lovely.
And she's foxy, right? There's no doubt. She's a beautiful bride. You know, she's got the hair flowing. She's got personality. So sadly, her hubby was ill with food poisoning that day, so he's not selling it as much. But, you know, we're going to leave spreads like this in there because it's just, that's gorgeous. It just shows she's really having fun and enjoying the day. So, you know, I might leave that as a double spread. This one's very classic and, you know, got that James Bond sort of feel. That works nicely there. Probably don't need that one, so I might kill it. But I quite like that. So I don't know if it needs to be full spread.
It's nice on its own.
We may just give it, let's go this. Now you'll see this here. This is telling me that I have the opportunity. I can whack something else in there. If I don't want it, I just highlight it and delete it. No, it doesn't want to delete.
No, you can't because that's a window shot. That's
no, it's not doing that.
Because that's from a window. You got to drop a photo in there.
I shouldn't have to. Let's just go with this guy. That nice pano is nice to kind of do that 16:8 format as well sometimes.
16:9.
16:9. There you go, 16:9.
All
right, so here I've got quite a lot of images looking the same. So what I might do is just drag those all on the one spread. I'll sacrifice a spread there. I'll come into this one and I'll go, what have I got here? So this is where I'll play with the layouts big so I can see the images. And then I might just kill them off as I don't need them. Like, I don't mind that little vertical shot there. So we always design as this double spread so that we never treat the page as a left and a right single spread, because with the Memento, we can use that beautiful full gusset. You know, really maximize it. Don't just design to a left side and a right side. Let those images breathe and come to life across your spread. Nah, I don't know. Don't need that. The cards are a bit annoying.
We've had a lot of black already.
We've had quite a lot. Oh, what's this one like? He's a bit creepy. She's looking a bit so we might get rid of that. Sorry, we might.
So you're racing through this process now for us, but what would the normal time frame be that you guys spend on an album prior to meeting with the client?
About 2 to 3 hours, because I'll refine it really tight. I don't want it to be tardy. I don't want it to look repetitive. You know, I want to kind of get it to a point that I'm really proud that if they said, you know what, we love that, I know it's ready to go to print and I know it doesn't need much.
We're creating a product to sell.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that that product is the best it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And because we have the expertise and we have the knowledge, we can create that. Like if money was no object, we're creating the perfect product, the perfect wedding album for someone. And then they're coming through and basically making sure that's what they feel comfortable with. So at this point, we're trying to create the perfect product for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing here, guys, is, you know, I've just made the decision. I'm like, I'm not going to put the bridal party in there walking in. I'm just going to make a beautiful design layout with the details on one side, and I'm just going to go full front and center with just the couple.
Yeah.
Now, if our couples go, oh, can we have, you know, everyone was there? Of course, we would go, yeah, you can totally do that, and we'll bring those people in. But this is now flowing as a design. So I've just quickly, you know, I'm going to flip them because this introduces where they are, and, you know, it's got their names and the place setter. I'm going to put the cake in the centre. Bit of the scene setting, bit of the food, and boom, there they are. There's Brent and Sarah.
Yeah. And the image on the right obviously shows how excited she was to come to the reception. So we want to highlight that.
Now, I would go in, and I do go in. Any exit signs are the pet hate of mine. So I'll go in and I will retouch those out, and these little annoying downlights.
So on that note, we retouch further anything that goes to print. So anything that's a distraction, like exit signs or maybe some rubbish on the ground or something like that, Hayley will go through and Photoshop those elements out, because once again, we're trying to enhance that product to the best it can possibly be for when they finally see it in print. They often don't see the subtle changes, but when we point them out, they, oh, wow, that's amazing. And all that. That extra bit of service goes a long way.
So we're nearly there, right? So I've come right through. There's a beautiful ambient shot of the food, and, you know, we go around and work hard at the reception as well. So we actually shoot like all the guests, and we'll get them, you know, mingling and cheersing, and sometimes a happy smiley at the camera if that's what they want. I'll sometimes put those photos in if they ask, but they're just like, you know what, guys, you've got all those. You don't need those shots in your album. Because we give them a lot of content anyway. We're just keeping the album to that pure story, but not going over the top, you know, like not putting things in that they can have to give to the guests and family and friends later. So here I'm just gonna, like, this is an example of a dancing page, right? Fun and shenanigans. Look, these probably are not the best shots I've chosen, but it gives you the idea that it just shows fun. Now, this is one space of a wedding day where you can get away with doing the collage view, because it's fun and it's, you know, over the top, and it shows that
similar shots, different people.
Yeah. And an ender. So yeah, let's go with that as our ender. So at this point I've got 96 sides. Let's go back. We'll just have a quick little squeeze through. It can definitely be tightened up, there's no doubt. I've got a bit of repetition happening here, so I may just decide to pop this in now. That's really pretty. See, sometimes less is more, right? By me taking out that.
Less is all.
Yeah, she's a bit frowny there, so I might have to touch that out, but, you know, it's gorgeous. So let's see what this is looking like. I could probably kill this page, to be honest. I think it's got too much on there.
No, but you'd leave this page in because it's her interacting with her daughter. So that this dark photo is probably not the one that should be in there. But this little moment is something that a mum would really cherish. So I think that's important to leave in.
Did have a little shot of the girl on her own. So we might make this a story about the little girl, right? If I had another image, I'd plop it in here and get rid of that one. So let's talk through what we've got here now. So we've got a scene setter. We've got an image that sets the scene. We know where we're at. We know that the characters are being introduced to us. We then move through to the boys getting ready. We know, here's the fellas. They're on location, you know, they're having a bit of fun. They're all decked out in their finery.
It's the introduction of the groom and the bridal party.
Yeah, so we're starting to bring in the players of the day.
Yeah, the characters.
We know they got ready in Sydney, in the city. We've got a bit of location which sets the scene, and, you know, what the day was like, the weather and how it felt. We now move to the bride's house, and the dress is obviously the hero. You know, we all walk in and the dress is hanging up. Normally I wouldn't give a dress a double page spread, but I think, you know, the scene that where she got ready was so beautiful, and the dress sitting there, it was kind of like this beautiful painting in itself. So
it's like an altar.
Yeah, like, so I would give that maybe front and center design. And then, you know, I'll just go through and double check, you know, is there repetition? What needs tightening? Can this come here? And I'm just going to really get it to a point that I'm happy to show the client that I don't feel we've been frivolous, that we're repetitive.
They're not just throwing in photos for the sake of it. It's a tightly orchestrated design to tell the story of their day.
So I'm doing this curation process for them. So this is what a pre-design is. So rather than us flicking them the files and saying, you know, guys, choose your favorites, it's our job, I feel, to curate the story and, you know, get the best possible outcome for them. And that's where we're at. So I might leave the congrats in at this point. You know, it's up to the couple if they want to take it out. I'll leave the family. Sorry, it's getting a little laggy because I do have a lot of thumbnails brought in here.
We don't have great internet here in Canberra as well, so it might be that.
Okay. You know, and yeah, I'm giving the couple choice here because I know they're probably not going to go with all these double spreads, but they might just pick one. So the fact that I've given them 3 there, they might go, you know, kill that black and white, kill that one, and we'll just go with this one. Because
they have options, they get to take ownership of it. It's not just us telling them what they need to have. We're giving them options, and so they can, you know, pick and choose what they feel comfortable with. But really that process means that they actually are starting to take ownership of it and that they're actually doing it themselves, which is really important because they have an emotional attachment to the hour or the hour and a half that they've actually sat with us to do the design. And then they feel it's what they've done. And because they've taken ownership of it, when we're talking about how many extra sides and the costs involved, they actually start to see the value to that because they've been part of the process. Yeah. So, you know, this is our design at this point. Obviously, we've been sensitive to the nuances of the day and the characters of the day. We've, you know, set the scene. We've put in the transition images. We've created a feel. We've done all the design things and the storytelling, but ultimately it's their book. So we hand that ownership over to them. So let's say I'm happy with this design. The client's coming in tomorrow and we're going to sit now and go through the process. We would design a slideshow for them in SmartSlides. So back in the Pixeloo software that we did the SmartAlbums.
So even though designed in Fundy, you go back into SmartSlides.
Yes, you can actually do a slideshow in Fundy. Sorry, where is it now? Slideshows. So if I wanted to create a slideshow of this album design, I could actually do that in here. I'm not going to do it now, but it's really intuitive and quick.
So getting back to the previous seminar where we've educated the client through different aspects of the workflow throughout the sort of journey that we've had with them, basically what happens once we've got this pre-design laid out in front of them, it's really just going through the processes of getting them to a point that they feel comfortable with the design. All the selling part of the process has been done in the previous maybe 9 or 6 months that you've been you know, in the journey with the client. So there's no real selling at this point. It's all about just going through the process of what they've been made aware of in the previous context.
That's right, because they know they've been given our welcome pack that says, you know, it talks about the album design, it talks about the process. They've been given the FAQs with us. There's about 6 or 7 touch points, I think, and we go through those in the other seminar, where that client is well aware that in their package, they only get the first 24 sides. So we will tell them, guys, when you come in, we will design the story for you to tell your unique wedding day. We don't even know how many sides that may be. For these guys, it might have been 95 sides. For somebody else, it might be 64 sides. For others, it might be 150 sides. Like, we don't have a set rule. We just do our job and design it to the content that we have. And you know, we may have shot a 16-hour Macedonian wedding. So we know it's not going to be 40 sides because the amount of content and material.
Well, certainly not 24 sides.
Yeah, that we have is a lot, and we know that, you know, people like that put an emphasis
The
on...
clients always know that the 24 sides is a starting point.
Yeah.
And that we're going to design a platform for them to work from, which will have as many sides as it takes to tell the story of the day. It's up to them to say, that part of the story is what I'm happy to take out.
Yeah.
Or that's part of the story that I definitely want to leave in. That's up to them. I have no idea whether they want those shots or not, but we're giving them those options.
You know, like Sarah might come in and Libby, if you were Sarah, you might say, oh, look, there's a lot of me, you know, how's I could live without that black and white spread. Great, we'll kill it, you know, and, oh, I love that photo of me and the little girl, but could we bring it onto this spread? And we'll say, yeah, look, let's try and make that, you know, let's make that work.
And often it doesn't, and then they realise that we've done the design to the best possible way, and so they'll go back to the previous design that works, even though this is quite nice.
You know, that works because the colour palette's similar, it's the same scene. Yeah. You know, it works in that scenario.
That conversation and selection process is so much easier to have in person than doing and throwing.
Exactly.
You might say, oh, Hales, you know, I really like, you know, this image of me, but I'm not keen on that one. Like, what am I doing there? So I'll say, no problems. Let's whiz into Lightroom. So this is where...
Can you see Lightroom?
Can you guys see Lightroom?
Yes, we can.
So I'll whiz into Lightroom and I'll pull it up. You're sitting next to us and I would say, no worries, Libs, let's go to that section of your day. So you were getting ready and you were somewhere here. I'm going to make those thumbnails a little bit bigger so you guys can see.
This one where I'm looking out is what I prefer.
Yeah, you might say, hey, I really love that one instead of the one you've chosen. I'd like to put that in the album. No problem. I'll highlight it.
So she'll export it and then import it into Fundy and then bring that shot into the design.
So we flick if the client, you know, because at this point we've chosen the images for the client, right? But if the client says, oh, you know, were there others that you shot, or that detail of my daughter's dress or whatever, or, oh, I love that photo of me and dad, but are there others? You know, I can then bring them back here and say, well, look, there's your choices. That's the one we've chosen. You know, we feel that's the best, but, you know, you can choose for yourself. And she'll go, yeah, no, you're right. You've chosen the best image. Let's go with that. So we let them still see the other images, but we don't spend hours drilling through each individual image large, going, okay, we're going to show you your 1,388 images because we would be here forever, right? So we flick back and forward between Fundy and the design. As Daz said, if I needed to import that photo, you know, Lightroom.
We won't go through the process now, but basically if that shot was there, she'd just bring it in and drop it into that
drop
space.
it in. Client would go, yep, love that spread, now let's keep moving. And then we would just move through the design until, you know, Daz gets to a point that he's like, okay, guys, well, you're at, you know, 80 or 92 sides. How do you feel about that? As you know, they're $100 extra a side. You've got to a level where it's $100 a side. You've paid for 24, so you're looking at $6,000, whatever the amount is. And at that point, the client would go, whoa, oh shit, like, hey.
I really love it, and that's exactly what I like. Thank you.
They might say that. They might. Or they might, you know, go, oh, we love it, but Daz, oh, can we?
Well, I would go through and basically say, okay, guys, where do you think we can change things? What are some of the shots that you don't really feel comfortable? What can you do without? And then I would shut up and let them make the choices and let them make the decisions, because this is once again part of them taking ownership of it. And yes, they will probably see, I would point out that, well, you do have a bit of repetition with some of these bigger shots here, and you've got a lot of black happening up there. How do you feel about this series here with all the black sort of background?
Yeah, and this is where we would then further tighten and refine. But because we've given them a lot of choice to start with, we've done that kind of deliberately, because we do want them to put their own stamp and their own input and their own ownership on this design. So, you know, they may feel they don't need these 3 images. They may just love this center one because they're not as arty as us and they don't see the beautiful texture in the hair. And, you know, she's more connected to the intimacy. So she may say, kill it, you know, I'll just go with this one. And that's fine. We don't get emotionally offended. We don't like...
It's not a sale at this point. It's a process.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, you don't want that? Fine, click. You're not hurting our feelings. It's getting to what you want. It's what's important for you. And that's the important aspect. It's not about us, it's about them and what they feel comfortable with. Because they've already had the education throughout, they should know that it's basically just refining it to what they feel comfortable with. And often they'll take a few sides out, or, you know, they'll get it to the point that they feel comfortable with. And basically they'll get to a point where they can't take anything else out. Mm-hmm. And then it's just a case of, so guys, how do you feel about that? Is that something that you'd like to do? They'll have to think about it. They'll nod their head. They'll talk to each other. They'll go, yes, that's what we want. And then I basically say, okay, so did you want a leather cover or did you want a material cover? And I just swing it away from the design and now the choice of which album, because that's assuming that they want to go ahead with the sale, and we're just going on to the next part of the process, which is choosing the album.
So we sit for about 2.5 to 3 hours with the couple. It's generally 3 hours. And that's because when they first come in, we're going to show them a teaser slideshow of their whole day. So that's that thing that we would do in SmartSlides.
But hey, can I just interrupt to ask, so you've sent them nothing in advance?
No. So we are very pertinent on this, and we see it all the time, and we think, why do photographers do this? Like, I see why, but I think you're shooting yourselves in the foot, as in you give too much and you're not building the verve of getting them excited. Exactly. It's like seeing a trailer to a movie. If you see the trailer enough, or the trailer gave you a 45-minute snippet, you would go, I'm not going to spend my 25 bucks on a, you know, dandy, you know, nice ticket to sit back in a chair, because I think I've seen it.
But you got to understand, if you think about the experience of sending people the files to a gallery like Pixie said, or on a USB stick or anything like that, there's no verve. They're basically opening it up and having a look. Whereas the verve that we're creating is, guys, you're going to come to the studio. We're going to show you this grand album design that we've put together, that we've taken hours to put together for. The experience is better. We've got the coffee on.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to see their photos for the first time with a monitor that's calibrated, that's in a setting which is beautiful, with music and coffee and, you know, maybe some little cakes or something like that, being joined by 2 people who are excited and enthusiastic about what we're about to show you and stuff like that. The experience is totally different.
Yeah.
Plus, and in a sense, that's what people are paying for as well.
Yeah. It's the first time we've seen them from their wedding. So we will always turn their job around as soon as they're back from their honeymoon. So if they don't go on their honeymoon, we turn it around within 2 weeks, and that's done and dusted. So we're at this point, the files are done, the design's done, the slideshow, everything's ready to go to do this sale with them within 2 weeks of the wedding. I think the quickest we've turned it around is 3 days. But we like to have 2 weeks, because otherwise it's, you know, a bit too much work for us. But we do that because we want to get in quick.
They're emotionally connected still to the wedding. That's what's important.
You know, life hasn't taken over. It's not months down the track. And this comes back to why we do this business model of not letting them choose the files, because, you know, often some photographers may not get the image gallery to them. Maybe it might take them 3 or 4 months, you know, after the wedding. That time's already passed. You've then got the waiting period for the couple to actually choose the photos. So that could be another 3 to 4 months. So you're already, you know, 6 months away from the wedding date. And by then, you know, credit cards have come in, you know,
life has gone back to normal, Rush.
Back to normal.
They've got pregnant.
Yeah, she might be having a
They're
baby.
buying a $4,000 lounge because their new house has become available now, and all those sort of things. And,
and these are all, I'm just going to jump in there to say that you guys discussed this at length and beautifully in the last webinar. So for those of you who didn't participate, please do go back and listen. There's so much gold in the last webinar. I make this point because we've got about, say, just under 15 minutes left. We're sticking to time. And
I'm happy to take questions now, because basically the product has been created here. The couple has come in. They've overlooked the product. They've done some changes. They've tweaked it. They've become involved themselves. They've taken ownership of the product. We've discussed already how many sides they've come down to, or how many sides it is. And basically the way our process works is that the more sides you put in, the cheaper the per side price becomes. So our starting per side price is $150. But when, you know, most weddings go over the 60 sides, they're already at $100 per side rate. So there's already a 30% discount involved with that. So basically I make them aware of that, and, you know, we count the number of sides. If that's what they're comfortable with, if that's, you know, within their budget,
we'll keep working with them until
it works to their budget.
There's no guns at heads going, oh, we've designed a 96-page album, you know, you have to take it. We're not emotionally connected. So if they cut that 96, you know, spread album down to 40 sides, that's okay. We'll make it look beautiful. We'll work with their choices. We'll listen to their concerns, or we'll work with their budget. It's our job to offer that service to get them to a point that they are hand on heart comfortable. So it is no longer about, it's not about our design. We know we've curated and done our job, but it's important that we show them what exists and what's possible, because you know what, if we assumed they were only going to spend, you know, 20 extra sides, we may have done ourselves out of a few $1,000s because we made that assumption that that couple wouldn't afford it, or that couple wouldn't want to spend that much money. And if it's one thing we've learnt in our years of business, you really can't assume anybody's
doesn't have the money.
Yeah, anyone doesn't have the money, or anyone's cringe factors, or what's important to them. We've had couples living at home with their parents that have spent, you know, I think 18 grand on their albums, like dual sets, double page spreads, engagement books, because they valued photography so much. So we would never have thought in a million years that that couple would have spent that, but they wanted it, like, you know. So
we give them the opportunity to have exactly how they want it. Yeah. And if that means 100 sides or 80 sides or 25 sides or whatever it might be, at least we've given ourselves the opportunity to have a good sale by actually showing them what's available.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a question from the crowd. Some just technical questions about the software. Oh, you can stay in there, Hales, if you're...
You want me to stay there? Okay. Yeah.
So there was a question about, like, how do you add text to an album? And I'm going to assume that both of these tools have the text functionality included. But the other important thing is, Hales, that there is one more step that needs to happen when using Fundy to move into the Memento Pro software. That's okay. But is the answer to the text is pretty easy to add, I imagine?
Yeah, so I've zoomed in, I've gone from the view mode, I've put that there, there's a T tool, and I can simply write, boys having fun.
Go in white so they can see it.
I'll just go in white there so you guys can see it. There's my white.
And is it relatively the same in SmartAlbums, we can assume?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, look, you know, adding text is pretty easy.
You can drag and drop, move that text. You can use default fonts, your own fonts. Yeah. knock yourselves out. You know, that might be pertinent for the vowels or something like that. You know, we've done it in the past where we had to put the vowel.
So we don't actually do the client's names at the beginning there because we know that they're going to have their names as the embossing on the cover.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, Libs, is I will export now. I'll just export maybe the first 10 spreads or something. So I've hit that little export for print and it'll say to me, okay, Hars, where do you want to put it? I'm going to put it on the desktop. I'm going to put a folder called Sarah and Brent Memento Zoom, and I'll create that and I'll select it. At this point, I'm not going to select all of them. I'm just going to do from pages 1 to 16. So I'll just put 1 to 16. I'm going to choose Adobe RGB 98 because I know that's what Jeff wants our files in. So I'm not going to choose sRGB, which is more for web. Don't want the file names. I'm going to hit export. Fundy now does its magic. So you can see now it's exporting those spreads. Let it do its thing. Is there any questions while we're just doing that?
Oh, I've put my chat screen down, haven't I? Let's have a look. Sorry. Is there a maximum number of pages? For us,
the beauty of Memento albums is that you can hit 100 sides, so 45 spreads. Other manufacturers, it's down to 90. Yeah.
There's no limit in Fundy. You can design as many pages as you want, but obviously the challenge is then printing that in one volume. Yeah. But there's been multiple times where Libby has printed dual sets for us, so we will design, say, one volume with, say, 80 sides and the next volume with 80 sides. So we would do a 2-volume set in that case. But Memento is one of the only suppliers that I'm pretty sure does 100 sides. So
that was our test when we were researching. And when I say we, that's the royal we, Jeff and Bo did all the research. But we knew that there were other kind of album creators around the world who had certain limits, and we thought that we've got to go beyond those. But just to be clear, at least with Memento service, we have 2 different paper stocks for our flush mount albums. Sorry, they're all cotton rag, 100% cotton rag, but we have 2 different thicknesses. So we've got a 0.6 mil, which allows you to go all the way to the 100 pages, 50 spreads. Then we have our 1.1 mil, which allows you to go to 35 spreads or 70 pages.
Yeah, so if you were doing an album that was not as many sides and you're concerned that, you know, it would look very thin for the couple, then you could choose the thicker pages. For us, because we generally do decent size spreaded albums, we always choose the thin, but that's a personal preference. Okay, so it's telling us, yep, you've exported, so we'll go okay. We're now, what I'm doing from here now is I'm just going to minimize everything here. Okay. Can you still see my screen?
Well, yeah, it's doing a crazy, like, it's being sucked into the bottom of the page.
Oh, is it sucked into this? All right. So what I'm going to do now is, can that move? Yeah. I'm going to go into the Memento Pro software. So when you export in Fundy...
Hold on, Hales, because so have you stopped sharing?
No.
So you're going to have to stop sharing that and then go in and choose the Memento.
Okay, sorry.
It's one thing that...
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I forgot about that.
There you go.
Okay. So I'm now in Memento Pro software. So I've downloaded Memento Pro. It sits on this little M icon down here. So because Fundy, it's the only well, not a glitch, but it's the only little thing with Fundy that they haven't addressed yet, and it's that they don't export PDFs. They export JPEG files, they export single spreads, but they don't export PDFs. But, you know, look, it's no biggie. I get around it quite easily. It takes me 5 minutes, and this is how I deliver my project to Memento. So I select, once you're in the Memento Pro software, I don't want to do stationery or photo book. I want to do a flush mount album. So I select that. I select the 1010 and I select manual, because what I'm doing is bringing in those spreads that I've exported from Fundy. I'm going to navigate to my folder where I saved them. And I think I put them on a thing called Sarah and Brent.
And while you're looking for that, I'm just going to jump in to say that in a few days' time, or Jeff, this afternoon even, you'll see a different view when you come into the Memento Pro software when you're making an album. So it's live as of this morning to allow for the portrait orientation album.
Oh, beautiful. That's great. Okay, so I can see all my thumbnails I exported only 16 sides. Let's say the whole lot's there. And I've got a blank canvas. So what we simply do is drag that first spread on and just hit the full spread icon there. And up here, it's only put 2 sides in my album. So, hey, I want more sides than that. I want to add another 10 sides in there, or 20 sides, however many you've got. And I simply go through, really easy. It's because my computer's slow with the internet, but this takes me literally 5 minutes.
Hey, Hales.
Can I join you here?
Jeff's got a surprise for you.
Okay, tell me.
You go, just do a start again. So back to the start screen.
Control-A.
Do you mean I can do these all at once? Don't tell me that.
I'm watching. Come on, you can do it faster than that.
You mean after all these years I've been doing this individually? I see, I'm learning. All right, tell me.
Click on the start again in the top bar. So new project, if you like.
I go start new project. Okay.
Yep.
So what, I don't save this one?
No.
No. Okay.
Just get rid of it.
So yeah, flush mount, large. And then the second, no, you went too quick for me there. Go back to
but
And
So
Hales, if it makes you feel any better, I didn't know this either.
I've got to do another webinar. Okay, on the first screen here, select the second to the right. So fill. Yeah, now navigate to your folder of spreads.
Jeff, why didn't you tell me this earlier?
Choose.
You're killing me. Right, so I select those files.
Yeah, and now create layouts.
Do you know how many?
Oh, get out!
Oh,
You
boom.
rat! I've been doing it manually.
This is okay. So this just proves to me I need to create more bloody video tutorials.
Yeah. So Jeff's just saved us 5 minutes. So instead of being 5 minutes, it's like 30 seconds.
It's very good like that, actually.
But it's probably a good moment to just explain. How yeah, they just take a second to buffer because it's the first time they've seen them.
Now, say, you know what I really love about this. So say at this point, I've gone, oh crap, I exported that out of Fundy and it's chopped the shoe. Like I didn't line this up properly, right? I could then quickly go back to Fundy and export that page out. And because Memento's so smart, it will know I've changed that page and it will put the updated version in there the way it should be. Or say I've seen a PowerPoint that I missed or something like that. I can just quickly whiz into Photoshop. It will remember the change and then bring the new version in.
That's probably, if I may, just probably a good moment to explain that, as you said, Hales, Fundy only goes to JPEGs in spreads or sides, whereas SmartAlbum goes to PDF. It doesn't matter which process you use, you can order immediately with both of them. We've worked with SmartAlbum, so even though you're providing a PDF instead of our proprietary master book format, you can still order directly from SmartAlbums to PDF. So the only difference really is at the moment, while Fundy don't let us export direct to PDF, you just jump in via our software and it'll make it into our PDF anyway. And that's why it was important that Hale selected Adobe RGB, because you want to minimize the number of color conversions you do. And our software's native space and our printing native space is Adobe RGB.
Cool. So that you know, I learned something there, right? So instead of
So did I.
Yeah, at the beginning, select fill as Jeff showed us, and we can just whiz those all in. At this point, I'm going to select preview, and I'm just going to quickly go from the top, make sure this, you know, the gusset is not running through anything I've missed. I'm going to give my eye a scan, you know, and I might go, oh crap, there's a bit of dust on that road. I might go back in and, you know, edit it. So I'll do any changes at this point before moving forward. To quit out of the preview, I just X out of it and say I'm happy with everything. I'm just going to go finish, and I'm going to tell it, yep, save it. I'm going to call it Sarah and Brent Wedding Album. And again, you can save this wherever you want. So if you want to put it back in your master Sarah and Brent folder, it just defaults to your documents folder, and it always says it as an MBK file, which is the Memento file. I'm going to master book file. It asks for a title to the project. So again, I'm just going to put Sarah and Brent Wedding, and that's the thing that I'm going to see. I'm going to go, yep, export please. So what it's doing now, the Memento Pro software is creating that PDF for them to print from. Now, don't worry, the colors will look shit when you see them like this. It's just the PDF preview. It is not changing the color space of your files or anything like that. I think Jeff's going to do a seminar down the track on technical stuff to do.
Or if he wasn't, he is now.
Yeah. Or if he wasn't, I've now put his hand up to be doing
Yes,
that.
thank you, Hayley. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but if you
he's laughing and agreeing over there.
Yeah, Memento Pro does have in the service tab stuff on color management. So if you're not sure, you can soft proof when you're working. If you're worried about, you know, color spaces and things like that, spend a bit of time reading up and making sure your monitor's calibrated and things
Download
like that.
the ICC profiles.
Yeah.
But
so
yes,
it's
yes,
just doing its thing, right? So I'd go make a cup of tea now. I'd go do something else I needed to do, and I'd just let this, it takes about 10 minutes if it's a huge album. This isn't huge. It'll take a few minutes. It's going to export them out, and then I'll upload it directly through this portal. I'll start uploading it to Memento. So it says, yep, it's finished. It gives me one final check. So at this point, I can just do a quick little check again and make sure it's got a preview button on there. So we can't.
Oh, we're not seeing that, Hales.
Oh, okay, you can't see it.
So,
sorry.
but I think
You get the gist.
Yeah, you get
you've
the gist.
explained enough. I think that's fine.
Yep. I just go, okay, and then I hit start upload. I need to put my email in.
Well, don't do that because I'll get that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't print this.
And everyone's going to crack into your account.
Yeah. So I'll put my email in. I'll put my password in, and I'll just press start upload. The little blue bar will whiz across, and it now puts that order into the Memento
project list. Oh, it's doing the genie thing again.
So if I go, sorry, can you see that?
No, you have to stop sharing now. Yep. And go in. And hey, while you're doing that, Michelle has asked, what if your images are sRGB from Lightroom? And hold on, I just lost the screen. Whoa. Oh, so what if your images are sRGB from Lightroom? Do you still export as Adobe RGB? And I noticed that, Jeff, you wandered around.
I magically appeared.
Yes.
If you're shooting in sRGB, the way we print, eventually they're going to end up in Adobe RGB. It's near as a lossless conversion because you're going to a bigger gamut. It's probably best to just do it at that first step. If you export the spreads out of Fundy as sRGB, then when you put them into our software, we're going to recognize them as sRGB, and at that point, we'll convert them to Adobe RGB. At some point in the journey, they'll go to Adobe. If you shoot Adobe RGB and you edit to Adobe RGB and then into your albums as Adobe RGB, there's no conversions.
Yeah, we shoot in Adobe RGB 98. We do all our work in that. I don't change that color space unless I'm going to do web-based stuff or, you know, something purely for the internet. Because again, we're print, we just keep it in that color gamut, and we just send it
larger,
to Memento in that way as well. So let's say I uploaded that job to Memento. I'm in their website, I've signed in. Obviously they're not Kirsty and Alan, but let's say it was. I would go in and click that, and then I would select what the book is. So yep, I want a 1010. I don't want a prestige mount, I want a plain, and I think I want to go deluxe.
Well, they ordered deluxe.
Yeah, whatever. So I put their specs in there. I double check that, you know, what's good in Memento is it gives you a little thumbnail reference of your first spread and your last spread. So if something's gone AWOL in your upload or gone wrong, you've got that reference to call them up and say, hey, you know, what happened? Like something's gone wrong here. So you can put your embossing on, like whatever you want there. I don't want that. I want to go large. So these guys are going to have large embossing. I'm going to put their names, and I'm going to make
12
it
different embossed colors that you can use.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to use this as a sample album, and I'm quite happy for it.
Thank you, Hayley. That's a very nice segue for me to just point that out, that we do offer the 40% discount for sample products. You get to use that 5 times a year, and I say go for gold with it. So that is the 40% discount, and at the moment you can't add these two together, but just a reminder that we also have our 10% top up on your standard trade discount for your client books.
So then if I'm happy with all that, I'd add it to the cart, I'd pay for it, and I'd go and have a beer or a gin and tonic in this case.
You're more gin and tonic, aren't you?
I'm more gin and tonic. I know Jimmy Simmons likes a craft beer. But and then we're done. So basically, you know, clients signed off. I've gone back and done any retouching. It's uploaded. Client picks up within a few weeks. So
and I'm stealing your screen for the moment, Hayley, to show them your finished album for Sarah and Brent. So excuse me just one moment, because it is a beautiful thing to behold. So 1 second.
If there's any other questions, we'll take them as well now.
And maybe what I can do then is I will unmute, or okay, let's see.
Well, you know, from a business point of view, because we've done the sale with the couple and they've maybe left 50% deposit or even paid for the whole album in full, when we pay for our album with Memento, the production, it's coming from their money. So we're not out of pocket because we're paying for the album with Memento straight up.
Mm-hmm. And just before I played this video, now somebody has been asking about the file size for using.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not so much about these, the size, the megabytes, it's the pixel width. What file size do you use?
So when I choose the images that I want to put in the album, because, you know, again, we're going through curating the content for their album in Lightroom. So I'm flagging them, you know, whatever. I'll export them at full size. So whatever we've shot them at, I'll export them at. So if I've shot them at medium raw, they'll export at medium raw, which is about a 12 by 9 inch file. I think it's 3960 by 1200 pixels or something like that. So if I've shot full raw, it's going to be, I think it's 22 inches by something. So it's quite a lot bigger.
It's very big.
Yeah. But again, never had any issues shooting medium raw. So
I think you missed some pages.
yeah.
That's very good.
quick.
Thank you. And just so you saw that video, then that wasn't the whole album. We cheated and we flipped through a few pages at a time, but that was the beauty of your original album that you created for Sarah and Brent.
Yeah, and that's a nice custom font. So you've put some custom embossing on there, which, you know, was borrowed off an invite or something like that. So yeah, any other questions before we wrap up?
Yes, thank you. Let's see. So I feel that we covered, I don't think there were any hanging over, but you got lots of compliments along the way for the beauty of your photography. I'm just trying to figure out how to unmute everyone. So, okay, here we go. You know what, guys? If you could just ask the questions via chat, that will make my life easier. But while I'm waiting for a question, presentation box question from Michelle Phillips, which was, here we go. How do you present the album to the couple at the end? Do you upsell a presentation box?
No, unless it is something like a double volume set where I have had a custom, you know, approach made by Libby and Jeff, and we've had special slip cases and things like that. We actually give a beautiful, I don't think I have a sample. I don't have one in the studio in Canberra, but we give a beautiful felt leather pouch that we've designed and had custom made. So all of our albums go into this beautiful leather pouch, and that's how we deliver them to our couples. But, you know, we don't want people to keep them locked away in cupboards either. So we want them to get them out and touch them and keep them on their coffee table. So we do encourage that the pouch we give them is just purely a dust sort of protection, or when, you know, they're in between moving or whatever. I don't know if you can see. Can you see that picture there, guys? That's actually the little pouch. That's the top of it that we give. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, that's the pouch that we give. But, you know, Memento give a really nice brown box and they wrap it beautifully. You may want to do your own custom packaging and things like that, or you might decide in your costing that you offer a clamshell box as part of the, you know, the price, or you may offer that as an upsell. You know, there's all sorts of upsells you can add, or, you know, extras if you like, such as clamshell boxes, you know, custom embossing, you know, parent albums. Like, these are all little things after you've done the sale with the client that you could say, hey guys, you know, do you want this? Do you want that? And it's just like a menu. If they want it, they'll get it. If they don't, they won't. So,
but I think what is interesting is that, oh, am I muted? No, you can hear me. I think the interesting thing is that you don't consider the album an upsell, and that's always a part of your package. And I only say this because I've heard so many comments over the years about, oh, I don't know how to sell an album, and, you know, or I don't like to do kind of slimy sales. But I said this last time at the end of your last presentation, that I don't even feel that you guys sell. I feel that you educate your clients on what the benefit of a printed format is, and you say that right from the very start, and you repeat it throughout your journey with them. And so there's no selling.
No, and look, if we hadn't done our, you know, checkpoints with the couple, and we hadn't been diligent in delivering our business model and our method of working to that client, and then all of a sudden we threw them into a, you know, live sales scenario, hell, that's being totally salesy, because they have no idea what's coming. You know, they're not prepared, and all of a sudden I'm trying to get them to open their wallet. Like, that's a horrible way of doing it. And this is where I think a pre-designed, you know, in-person sales approach can get a bad rap, because people aren't doing the work beforehand. They're not structuring their business in the right way. It takes effort, you know. This doesn't just happen overnight. You need to rethink your business model. You need to put the steps and processes in place. You need to be delivering the information concisely and properly to your clients. You need to believe in it too. You can't sell something you don't believe in. So, you know, it's a holistic approach, but if you adopt the right way, as Libby said, it's just going through a process. I think Darren said, you know, at that point where they come in with us to do this album design session, the sale's been done. They know that we're going to show them a beautiful story. They know that they're going to present it with extra sides. They know they're likely going to want to spend more. They know all of this. So there's absolutely no surprises. There's no pushing them into, you know, you have to do this or have to do that. It's a different dynamic. So we never get to that point with any of our couples where they're not aware or they weren't prepared. Or
the beauty of being upfront is that someone has the opportunity to prepare. So if they prepare and they put money aside, then it's going to make it easier for them to have more than what they might have sort of thought of to start with. So if they've thought to themselves, okay, all these envelopes that I'm getting from all my friends, and I don't know how much money's going to be in them, but if I put them aside and I use them for the album, you know, I might be able to get the book that I really want to treasure and, you know, something that we really want. And then they open up those envelopes the day after the wedding and they've got $6 or $7 grand there. Well, you know, then they're going to maybe put most of that towards the album because the honeymoon's already been paid for, because they've had to pay for it on the credit card, and the flights and everything like that have all been paid on the credit card. But their little money envelopes have all been sat at home. And if they want to use them, they can.
Yeah. And, you know, again, we don't assume, we don't have a one size fits all. Each couple is entirely different. You know, each couple will have different budgets, but we do find our average, you know, is around that 3.3 mark is our average extra album sales. So, you know, when for us on our business model, work on that, extra sales, we don't have to shoot as many weddings per year. It's just an easier business model for us. We don't want to shoot 50 weddings a year. So for us, because we get the extra print sales throughout the journey with our couples, be it on some beautiful engagement products, you know, wall art, a book, some prints, and then the extra wedding you know, sides, for us shooting, you know, 20, 25 weddings a year is enough for us to sustain our business model and our lifestyle. So we don't have to shoot every weekend. We don't have to be giving all the files away and not getting remunerated for it.
That must sound like heaven to some wedding photographers too. I mean, if for all of those of you who are who didn't see the webinar last week, Hayley and Darren presented at the end a grid of, you know, how many weddings you might shoot per year, how much you'd make from just the shoot, and then how much you could make on average from like selling an album. And I mean, it was gold. So, you know, it's as you said, sorry?
Take a look at that other one. If you haven't had a look, take a look.
Yeah, when you see the figures in front of you and you know, you might be just a shoot and burn photographer and you're toying with the idea of selling product, and, you know, it might be really overwhelming and you don't know where to start and it's all too hard. I think when you see the figures in front of you and you realize the potential with offering product into your mix, it opens a whole different way of, you know, working your business and really your lifestyle. And, you know, if you want to gain more time with your family and your children and things like that, then certainly selling product is the way to do it, and not be flogging your body, you know, just being a gun for hire, because you can only shoot so many gigs. So, yeah. So
and
anyway,
thank you, because what you also showed us during this session too is, you know, you need to have an efficient workflow for album design as well. And throughout you guys won't have seen this, but throughout the session, you know, some of the questions came up. One of them was, as I mentioned before, would you use, you know, what's the difference to Memento Pro? In this particular situation, if you are a wedding or a portrait photographer who will make albums regularly, we highly recommend you don't use Memento Pro in this instance, that you do use our service, just not the software. And that, you know, SmartAlbums and Fundy are two great options. And thanks to you guys today, you've shown me a lot more about Fundy. I was fairly familiar with SmartAlbums, but not with Fundy. And I suppose if people were considering, you know, do I use Fundy or SmartAlbums, you noted, Hayley, that the feature that you liked was the ability to see the overview of the book and be able to interact.
Yeah. Quite big, you know, you can see it really big thumbnails.
Can I just point out, it's actually not that we can see it big, is that the couple can see it big.
Mm-hmm.
And it means that they can see the overall what's happening with their album. And if there's too many pages down here of the similar sort of thing, or if there's some repetitiveness somewhere else, it's for them. It actually makes it so much easier for them to make choices and decisions because they can see an overview.
Yeah, but you know, again, it depends how you want to run your business and what's important to you. I think both programs are, you know, equally as awesome as each other. Some have pros and do things better than others, but hands down, if you use either SmartAlbums or Fundy, they're both amazing. You'll hit the ground running. I only probably showed you a tenth of what is possible in each platform. There are a myriad of you know, downloadable videos on each software program, so you can nut in and learn the intricacies and really learn it inside and out